So from start to finish, this is my pickling process. Here are my okras. These were my 3 original, and I had planted a second crop, and man, I thought I lost them, but I was able to keep them. I had to transplant them because I had a pumpkin taking over everything, but they look good. I've only got about 4 off of these larger ones, but they're producing, so I just gotta be patient. In a pint jar, I could put up to 8 nice little okra that are about just about 3 inches long. And you don't want to, well, I guess you could have them any bigger than that, but they get a bit woody. So, but this is the pumpkin that is just kind of taken off. I've had to cut it back a little bit, but Elsie and I found something really cool the other day. We found a little baby pumpkin. Ooh, look, and a pickle! All right, score. So with the cucumbers, I'm able just to kind of pull these off the vine pretty easy. With the okra, I do have to cut them. They're a little bit hardier and stronger. But this is like a good size that I will go for. It's just kind of the bite size that you can kind of hold in your hand, and they fit really well in the pint. This is about 4 inches. I will also do kind of the smaller ones because Elsie enjoys kind of holding, and easier to get these smaller size. I don't go anything smaller than about 2.5, but this is a good bite-sized little pickle. And I could put 11 of these. I've been doing quart jars as well, and so you have to double the recipe that I sent you. But those little bitty ones, those, you know, about 2.5, 3-inch pickles, I could put 11 of those in a large quart jar. But these other, like regular size or appropriate size that I want anyway, I could do about 7 of these size, and they work really well. Oh. And so I try to get out here and I try to catch them before they get too big, because if they get too big, like this guy right here, these guys I will spear, and I'm able to get about 6 spears in here. These don't fit very well in the pint. You have to cut quite a bit of the bottom off to fit them in the pint, but they will fit in the quart. And I could do maybe 3 of these big ones in the quart. But when I spear them, you know, I'm getting about, I don't know, 18 spears, 18 to 21 spears in the quart jar. So anyway, just kind of wanted to show you a process from beginning to end. I'm going to pick a lot more pickles, and then we'll show you how to pickle. Look at that. That's a little straight neck squash flower with a honeybee in it. Isn't that cool? So pretty. Hope your garden's doing well. Send me some pictures. Corn's doing good. Got some silk, some corn that's growing. My tomatoes haven't turned red yet, but we're getting there. We're getting there. So, all right. I will continue the process and show you un momento, por favor. Bye-bye. All right, Bubba, I had made the mistake of recording in this mode as opposed to landscape. So I'm gonna record in landscape to let you kind of know what I'm doing here. So these are the cucumbers. What I had done is I went ahead and washed them and scrubbed them, and I cut the ends off where the vine came from. And not the side where the bloom was at, but the side that was on the vine. From what I've read, and a lot of the recipes that get to pickling is cutting this side off, because this is where everything that's drawing, the cucumber is drawing in from the vine. And so opening up that bottom end will allow it to absorb a lot of the solution. These are the ones I'll probably, I could put 11 in a quart jar. The recipe I'd sent you is for a pint, but I'll kind of show you what I do here. These are the larger ones. I could probably put 6 within a quart, or I could chip them like hamburger chips
These bigger ones I'll probably spear. If you have cucumber, the thing is, use them as fresh as you can. So if you go out and you pick them and you have enough, go ahead and pickle them. But if you aren't able to pickle them for a couple days, put them in the fridge. They will get a little bit soft on you, but throw them in a water bath. Throw them in a water bath and they'll firm up really, really good. Just kind of letting them sit in there for a little bit. These were some that I had picked the other day and just didn't have enough. And here's my okra. I had a couple okra in there. So I wash my jars. The jars, when you get jars, they don't come sterile, and so you have to wash them. And I used a big pot, and I didn't really have a rack on the bottom. You can use a towel. I used the lids. I stuck them on the bottom and then put the jar on top of them and boiled. Let it boil for about 5 minutes to sterilize the jars, and then I set them on the rack to dry, and then I put them in the oven at 215 so that they won't be at room temperature when the hot solution gets in them and cracks them. So I wanted them to be at a certain temperature. Now what I put in the jar is this here. This is 2 tablespoons of dill and about 3 cloves of garlic that I will put on the bottom, and then I'll just start stuffing my pickles, put as many in there as possible. And I only do this whenever the solution is started to, or not solution, but the water solution, it starts to boil, which it's boiling. And once I get these in here, I'll kind of go over the recipe that I had sent you as to what I put in here. You can also use like real dill flowers. I had some. Diane's mom had come over and given me some the other day, and you cut off and do about 2 heads per jar, and it's supposed to be real nice. So I've got the dill and the garlic. I got the pickles in there, and now I use a ladle and just ladle the solution right into the jar. And when I had sent you that text earlier about headspace, I'll show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to pour the solution right into the jar. I'm going to try to get it to about right here on the jar so that it has enough headspace. And the importance of headspace is leaving a certain amount of air in your jar, because if you don't leave any air in your jar, you run the risk of the jar exploding. At least that's what I've read. I haven't seen anything like that. I also keep the lids in some nice hot water. I also washed these before I put them in here, but that hot water around the edges here, that gummy part, kind of softening that up a little bit so that whenever it gets onto the jar, it'll be a nice seal. You want to kind of dry off the rim a little bit, and then take your lid, and don't do that. You want to do that, yeah. And try not to, from what I've read, try not to touch as much as possible. So I'm gonna do this and drop the phone. Sorry. And there you go. So you got your jar of pickles. Kind of. It's really hot. So I'm gonna let this sit here, and I don't know. It usually goes about 2 or 3 minutes, and you'll hear this top part snap, and that kind of lets you know that it's sealed. And I use a dry erase marker to write on the top because I want to reuse these lids. And if I use permanent marker, then if it has a date on there from July 2018 and it's next year and I want to use it, then that's not going to be very helpful. So, but anyway, I use dry erase to do the top. I'll tell you what the solution is made out of. I use 3 3/4 cup of apple cider vinegar and 3 3/4 cup of water into this pot here, and then I use 1/4 of a cup of pickling salt out of this box. And the regular recipe, all this is the same, except the regular recipe uses 1 tablespoon of dill and about 1 to 2 cloves of garlic, and that's all for a pint. And so this here is a pint, but I've been using quart, and so I've had to double the amount of dill seed that I put in the pickles to compensate for the extra volume that's in here. So that's how I do my pickles. I got some that I did last week that's in the fridge, and Mom and I are going to try to eat some this evening. But it's already 9:30. But pickles are good anytime you want them. So that's how I do the pickles. If you have any questions, give me a holler. And I'm going to use the same method for okra. This is the first batch of okra I've really had. My plants are just now starting to produce, and so I'm hoping to start pickling some okra soon. And this is actually the 12th jar of pickles, so I may be cutting out pickles here pretty soon, because I got literally pickles coming out of my ears. So anyway, yeah, it's fun, and I hope they turn out good. And if they do, maybe I can mail you a jar of pickles. That'd be cool, wouldn't it? The thing is with dill, this is the largest amount of dill seed I've been able to get. Don't use dill weed, it's not as potent. But this is all we can find unless I order some online. This is kind of expensive. This will do it'll do 3 pints, or do 4 pints, and so you can get just 2 quarts out of this. It doesn't last very long, and so if you can find a large amount of dill, I'd go for that. That'd be a good deal. This is some that I had speared, so that would have been the 6th, so last week. I wasn't sure that it sat really well because it didn't pop the top like the others had, and I just kind of pushed. You could see that I used some dill, some real dill in there, but I've just kind of been letting this sit around. Plus it looks a little cloudy as opposed to the others. They look really clear. But anyway, if you have questions, give me a holler, and happy pickling, my brother. Love ya.